thanks everyone for joining. I know folks are currently joining, and wanted to thank everyone for attending this evening. We are focusing on two of our specialized programs within our School of Business. So while we do have an established MBA program, a Master's in Business Administration, we have two programs that are specifically focused in different areas and different industries that we know students find very attractive. So we thank you all for joining this evening to learn more about Providence College graduate programs. And with that, we will be going through information on both programs. We'll do a few introductions to begin, and then get into some details about our AACSB accreditation and the ethics that are founding pieces to our School of Business. We also have a student panelist discussion, so we do have different students who are joining us this evening, both current students and also alumni from the programs, and we will get into a Q&A as well. This session is really to give you some information about our two specialized programs, but then also a chance for you to ask questions, hear experiences of our different students and former students, and really learn about the different pathways that could be possible in both of these programs. So with that, I will introduce my colleagues and program directors. If you'd like to both say hello, Dr. John Jackson and Dr. Nicholas Lornier.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining tonight. We're excited to chat with you about the Business Analytics program, and I'm sure Nico is excited to talk to you about sports as well.
You guessed it, John. So, hello, everyone. Nico Lornier. I'm the Director of Sports Administration, and indeed, I'm excited to tell you more about the program. Thank you.
Excellent. And if I didn't say it at the beginning, I was waiting until now. My name is Diana Jingles. I'm Director of Graduate Admission, and many of you may have already connected with my Assistant Director, Daniela Potashnik. And both of us are part of graduate admission. You're able to connect with us directly, and then our main office, grad school at providence.edu. So we'll be sharing more information towards the end of that session, but to get into an overview of the programs, and so you all can understand a little bit more about the offerings, we will be turning it over to our MS in Business Analytics program first. Dr. John Jackson, if you'd like to begin.
Great. So I'll get things started with the analytics program. As you can guess by the title of the program, it is very data and analytics focused. 9 of the 10 courses that you will take in the program are tied to analytics. And throughout those 9 courses, you'll get introduced into effective ways to tell stories with data. You will learn how to build out predictive and prescriptive models through Python and other tools. And then you'll learn to be able to pull out data from databases and bring all of that together to try and make informed strategic business decisions moving forward. Now, as I describe that set of courses, you may be thinking, well, I don't have a ton of background in that, in the analytics space. Would I be able to do this program? And one of the things we were very strategic about when designing the program is making sure that it was accessible for anyone. And so we have a relatively low sort of background expectation in terms of the number of courses you will have taken. But essentially, we've had people over the 4 to 5 years at this point who've come from traditional majors, something like business, math, or computer science, but also people from social work, from humanities, from psychology, from biology, really spanning the whole array of potential backgrounds who've all been very successful in the program. And so we were very strategic to sort of start at ground zero, but then we quickly work our way up and give you the skills needed to ultimately get those careers on the back end. And in terms of careers students have got, we've been very successful with placement over the, again, 4 to 5 years that we've been running the program. We're lucky enough to have 2 different students who graduated last year with us tonight. Both of them ended up in sports. We've had people in the sort of finance industry, whether you're getting into marketing, government jobs, healthcare, really across the board, we've seen great career placements, right out of the program, and then students getting that second and third job down the road. In terms of sort of thinking about the type of career you may want to get at the back end of that program, there's a couple of different ways that I've seen it work that I like both paths. So one is taking your previous background, maybe your undergrad major, maybe the job you're in now, or sort of adding on the MS in Business Analytics to where you can get that next step in your career progression, but staying in the same industry. Or you may have a complete pivot in your career industry. I mentioned someone who had a background in social work. They came and added business analytics program, and now they work in the finance industry. And so it gives you kind of two different ways that you can continue your career, staying in a similar industry as your background, or potentially making a big pivot, and both paths can be successful. Now, getting into the actual courses a little bit and what it would look like if you enrolled in the program, what you'll end up seeing on the next slide is 10 courses that you will end up doing. That works out to be 30 credit hours. And we'll get into the courses in just a second, but before you are enrolled in the program, you do have two things that are required. You have to get Excel certified, and you have to have taken or take a college level statistics course. Here at Providence College, that's Math 217, but really we will accept any statistics course from any college or institution across the country. In terms of, you may be thinking, well, I don't have those currently. Can I still apply? And the answer is absolutely yes. You don't have to have those two things completed until you enroll on that first day of class. And actually, a lot of people will do their Excel certification after they are admitted into the program, because Providence College has some great tools and resources that can help you with that process. Now, looking at the actual 10 courses, what you'll see on this slide is a one-year program. So you'll take 4 classes in the fall, 1 in the winter, 4 in the spring, 1 in the summer. We also have a 2-year option. So the 1 year would be a full-time program, 2-year would be a part-time program. And in the 2-year program, essentially what you see in fall and spring would be split in half. So you would do 2 in your first year for fall, 2 in your first year for spring, and then complete the second 2 in year 2. Your winter and summer class would also fall in year 2. Now, I'm not going to go through and talk about every single course, but just to give you a couple of highlights here. So I mentioned on the last slide, 9 of the 10 courses are analytically focused. The only one that's not is, if you look in spring, you will see Graduate Business Elective. That is a course where you get to choose anything from our School of Business offerings at Providence College. So that could be an MBA course, you could go pull a course out of the sports program, whatever sort of fits your interest there. You will also see 2 courses that have MBA as their course descriptor versus MSA. Those 2 courses you will co-enroll with MBA students and take their 2 sort of analytically focused courses. And then the other 7 courses you will be with your cohort of 25 students who are in the MSBA program. And I think that's one of the major benefits of the smaller specialized program, is that you get to take classes with a small set of students. You get to know them very well. You get to know your professors because you take multiple classes with them, and really get a more cohesive experience. Not to say the MBA is bad, but it gives you that tighter sort of close-knit group that you can work with. Now, I'm not going to talk about all the classes, but I do think there's one that is worth mentioning, which is the bottom one. So if you look down in the summer, you will see Business Analytics Consulting. And I'm a strong proponent that if you're going into a graduate program, especially if you don't have 5 or 10 years of experience, getting an opportunity to work on a real-world project is a deal breaker in my opinion. If they don't have it, I wouldn't consider it. And we are fortunate enough to have that type of opportunity where you get to partner with a local organization, a local company. They provide a real problem, real data, and you get to work through and ultimately present back to management at that company with your recommendations and your insights that you've gained. And I've seen over the years that can be a great line on your resume. It can be a great talking point in an interview and really give you a leg up, especially, like I said, if you don't have 5 or 10 years of experience. This gives you real world experience where you can talk through a project and prove that you know what you're talking about and get to apply everything that you've learned in the program. And so I think, whether you're interested in the 1 year, the 2 year program, it all sort of culminates in that final project, which is, I think, a great way to wrap up a program. And so I'll try to keep that short. I can answer questions later on or in the chat as people have them, but I'll turn it over to the sports program.
Terrific. Dr. Lornier?
Sorry, something popped up on my screen at that exact moment. So, hi again, everyone. So there are many similarities and differences with Dr. Jackson's program. I will try to highlight many of them and also what the differences are with MBAs. So first of all, as you can see on the left side of the screen, what really is different from any other program you could have at Providence College actually is that it's fully online. That is everything but the orientation at the very beginning, and I'll talk a little bit more about that afterwards. Another difference is that here we focus really on athletics, whether it's professional sport, whether it's college athletics, whether we're talking about sportswear or sports agencies, and some of you may not be as familiar with sports agencies. It's like Learfield and so forth. They work more in business to business. So the second part, the focus on athletics, is really what differentiates us from a traditional MBA program. Sometimes I actually define the program as being an MBA applied to sports. So we give you everything you need to be successful in the sports industry and nothing of what may not be as insightful or interesting. For instance, I think one of the key differences is that we focus a lot less on logistics and some aspects of operation that are maybe more data driven. For us, it's a lot of crowd management, for instance. So there are some differences there on a lesser focus on supply chain, for instance. So that's one of the differences. And so as I alluded to with this second part of the introduction, with regard to the careers, we are really talking about working in the sports industry. Very often what it means is working in professional sports. What jobs do you see there? You see jobs usually in sales, game day operations, sponsorship, guest services, public relation, and so forth. That's really an area in which we place many of our students, or I've placed many students over the years. In college athletics, what we see a lot is a lot of facility management jobs, a lot of marketing and communication jobs as well. Sometimes some fundraising because it's a big part of college athletics, as some of you may know, some compliance job as well. And then after that, in the other areas of the industry, those can be more like marketing and operation jobs. It really depends on what we're talking about. Sports agencies, a lot of those jobs are about marketing as well. Marketing is a big part of what we do in the industry. But some also are more about facilities and the operation of those facilities. So something important to point out as we start. As we move to the next slide. So here we're talking about 33 credit hours, not 30 as in the MSBA. So that's one more class to take. In the first summer, if you're going for the 1 year program, you will have your foundations. And so I'm not going to repeat what Dr. Jackson said. The foundation of business is the same. You have to have Excel certification, also proficiency in statistics. And after that, we move to another foundation course if you do not come from a business major. And this is simply to give you a flavor of what other students have been doing over 4 years. And so in a 3-credit course, we're trying to give you the foundations. Okay, and again, 3 credit is not equal to 4 years of schooling, but at least we can give you enough of a flavor to facilitate the onboarding with the program. That's really what it's all about. What does not appear on this layout of the courses is what happens between summer and fall, and that's our orientation. Like all graduate programs, we have an on-campus orientation, and it's worth noting because this is the only time you'll be on campus. It's fully online, okay? Or at least it's the only time you will have to be on campus, I should say. So what's a little bit different from the other graduate programs here at PC is that it's a 2 full-day events. And the idea here is to focus a lot on getting to know the classmates that you will only see online afterwards, possibly, but also to use that opportunity as a great networking event. And I'm sure the students from MSSA will talk about how fun the orientation was this year. We met up in the morning, we had lunch with the athletic department at Providence College, where basically the athletic director and all of these the associates told us a little bit about what they're doing for a living and tried to connect with the student. That was a very fun time. The second day we had an event in which they met with the mentors, excuse me, because we have a mentorship program. So every student from the program is paired with one mentor who is usually a director, but more often a vice president or a general manager in the sports industry. And so they will have to connect multiple times during their time with us, with this mentor. And so far, it's been a lot of fun. So that's what we did, or at least part of what we did the second day of orientation. The second part is what you see here on the screen. That was our second networking event of the day, an event hosted at RIFC, in the clubhouse of RIFC to be precise. And their students had a discussion panel with some of the president and vice presidents of RIFC, the P Bruins, and a person who works in sports consulting as well. And so that's our way to kick off the program. Now, I will probably go very quickly on each of the classes, but in very broad ways. Executive strategy and leadership in sports is taught by a tenured faculty member here who's been at the college for a very long time, who's able to bring some leaders in the sports industry. One of them this semester was Rich Gotham, the president of the Celtics. In my courses, strategic sports marketing, first I bring also a lot of people from the industry. We're gonna have more coming up. We're gonna have consultant coming. We had a vice president of the Celtics. No, excuse me, the Red Sox who came, and we're gonna have more coming up. In our research methods course, we work with a client. So this semester, the client is the athletic department at Providence College. And so here, to piggyback a little bit on what Dr. Jackson was mentioning, the idea is really to learn research, which is something that can be pretty abstract, especially that's how it's taught at the undergraduate level usually, and to really bring that to life by working with a client. And so we are working on both qualitative and quantitative aspect of research, and I'm not going to bore you with the detail, but the idea is to provide recommendations for the athletic department. Then for the end of the fall, if you're a full-time student, because we also have a part-time student option, if you're a full-time student, we'll also take financial management. And you see this fellow at the very left of the picture with a pink shirt. It's actually our finance professor, Danny Hill, who comes from Great Britain. He's been working with soccer team, as we call them in the United States, but he would call them football teams from the English Premier League and other leagues as well. And he's bringing all of this knowledge from also the other side of the pond. We have a winter session also in which we're going to have a student engagement experience. Again, that will be the time to connect with alums. This year we'll have somebody from FootJoy who's going to talk to us about sportswear. Then we will talk about student-led initiatives. notably a speaker series, and they will also help me plan the next orientation to see, who they want to see from the industry, really, next summer. Then they will take ethics and sustainability with Pat Kelly, whose area of expertise lies in gambling and sports betting. And then we switch to spring semester, and we start very strong in sports analytics with an elite professor uh, who is among us today, maybe on this side on your screen, and it's Professor Jackson. So if you do not want to take the MSBA, but you still want to benefit from the experience of Professor Jackson, you can do that through the MSSA as well. And so he will be teaching sports analytics for us. Risk management and contract negotiation will be taught by a lawyer, a professor also in Florida, who's been a part of some of the major lawsuits that shook the industry in the last few decades. I'm very excited to have him in the team. Business of collegiate sport taught by somebody from our athletic department, because again, we want to connect you with the industry. It's paramount to connect with the industry in the sports realms. Business of professional sports is taught by somebody from the Celtics, specialist, their director of customer insights. And for sports selective, we will have this semester, we're going to have the business of sports agencies, and it will be taught by a former executive at Pepsi, Learfield, and so forth. So that's what we're doing, and we conclude the program just like Professor Jackson with a consulting course for the exact same reasons that he described. And the idea again is to work with a client. So here our client this year will be Rhode Island Football Club. And then opportunity for more sports selectives at this point. I think I probably overstated my welcome by now, so I'll give it
No,
back
you're
to you,
fine.
Diana.
You're fine. And with that too, sorry about that. You both and from the classes, we can see there are ethics interwoven into the School of Business. Certainly, I'd love to hear perspectives on from both of you on the electives, I'm sorry, ethics that come throughout the business curriculum in terms of the foundation of different courses. But also to just to note, so in case folks aren't aware, Providence College, both our undergraduate and our graduate business programs, including the MS in Business Analytics and the MS in Sports Administration, all these programs are accredited through AACSB International, meaning that a student's degree is recognized internationally, and certainly within that. That applies to both our undergraduate and graduate students. Within those programs too, employers are very much attracted to that accreditation. There are lots of commitments that the School of Business does have to make in order to maintain that accreditation as well. So if you both could speak to both that, I would say the depth of that accreditation, but then also to the ethics that are interwoven into each of your programs. I think that would be very helpful for students. So John, would you like to start?
Sure. So just quickly on the accreditation piece, one of the things that's sort of great and difficult about being accredited is you have to continue to show that you're being relevant and that you are striving to improve. And so the AACSB holds us to the highest standards, which ultimately benefits you as students, because the faculty are engaging in research, they're staying active in their field, we're making sure that our programs are up to date, and so everything is trying to be the best that it can absolutely be, and we're held to a very high standard for that. And so you as students get the benefit of that. As it relates to ethics, the MSBA does not have a specific ethics program, but we do try to incorporate ethics throughout the program or throughout the curriculum, both in terms of discussions and cases that are going on. And this is valuable because, as we're all seeing now, the growth of AI and sort of how it's being used and how do we make sure that we're using it correctly, and the amount of data that everybody is collecting. Are we okay collecting this data? How are we going to use that? How is that going to be sort of brought into decision making? is an important element to think as we're collecting this data and deciding whether or not and sort of how we can use it. And a great example of that, one of the recurring cases we have in the program is tied to the use of AI and data in the hiring process and whether or not AI should be involved in that process and what sort of biases or other challenges we might have if we choose to use that. And we talk through the ethics of that as part of a case. And so, Nico, did you want to add anything?
Yes, very briefly, I could touch some similar topics, so I don't want it to be redundant. What I would like to add about AACSB accreditation is that it's actually very rare for a master's degree in sports administration to get this accreditation. That's one of the reasons I came, to be completely clear. And indeed, the requirements are a lot greater than it will be in other programs. So that will also mean that we are holding our students to a standard that not everybody is reaching. Okay, and so again, I think it's worth saying there, without further emphasis, but the idea also is that we have this ethics component that I started to describe. In sports, there are so many controversies that are related to our ethics and the ethics of the industry that it's hard to know where to start. I mentioned gambling, which is a relatively new but still developing issue because it started to go beyond Las Vegas, and now there are only 7 states, I believe, in which gambling is not legal in the United States. So that gives you an idea of the scope of what's happening. But there are plenty of other interesting topics for ethics, notably a current one with NIL, name, image, and likeness, and all of this idea about revenue sharing with athletes, which we're excluding from this revenue sharing. So just to provide a few examples.
Excellent. Thank you both. And at this point, we would like to hear from our students who are either part of the program or are alums of the program. And with that, we'll launch into our roundtable discussion. With that, just so students are aware, any students attending, by all means, please feel free to utilize the Q&A function in this session. We're happy to answer these different questions live. We have a few questions just so you get to know the candidates. I'm sorry, not the candidates, the presenters a little bit better. But with that, we also encourage, this is your chance to ask questions if you hear something or you're curious about an experience. By all means, this is your chance to ask that question. Feel free to use that Q&A function. With that said, I'll have the students introduce themselves. So Aiden, would you like to begin?
Of course. Hello, everyone. Name's Aiden. So you can obviously read a little bit more about me here, but basically here as a representative for both programs today. I did the part-time MSBA program over the last 2 years and must have liked it enough where Professor Jackson convinced me to meet with Nico, and he convinced me to take the MSSA program as well to further my career in sports and kind of my knowledge there. So I was living in Providence for the last 2 years, moved back to Dallas where I'm originally from, and taking full advantage of being able to still do the MSSA program while remote.
Excellent. Thank you. And Aline, would you like to briefly introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, definitely. So, hi everyone. My name is Aileen. I am a full-time graduate student in the MSSA program. Just a little bit about me. I did my undergrad at Dean College, majoring in sports management, and I'm currently working with Rhode Island FC in social media.
Excellent. Thank you. And Sammy.
Yes. Hello, everybody. I'm Sammy. I did 5 years at Providence College. I did my undergraduate there as well, and then did my MS in business analytics. I think I'm a little bit different because I came into the MSBA with computer science as a minor, and I was business economics. So I came in with a little bit of knowledge about different computer programming softwares. but was able to really expand on my knowledge there. I was also a graduate assistant in the ticket office at Providence, so got a little bit of sports experience through there. They're also kind of our athletic data team. They're all kind of linked together. But I'm very happy for my time at Providence College. I would not have changed anything. Very happy I stayed for my 5th year. So excited to answer some questions today.
Excellent. Thanks. And we have some prepared questions. John, did you want to start off with the first question for the students?
Sure. So first question, and I think this is a question that is relevant for a lot of potential students incoming, trying to decide what the right program is for them. And I think if we were to poll 100 people, most people would end up in the MBA program. But all of you chose to not do the MBA and instead go for one of these specialized masters. And so I want to know, or sort of want you to elaborate a little bit on why you thought that was the right choice for you, right? Going into the specialized masters versus an MBA, a more general degree. And so in the sort of theme of tonight, we'll go Sammy first for MSBA, Aileen for sports, and then Aiden will give us both at the end. Does that work? All right, Sammy, kick us off.
All right, perfect. Yes. So in undergraduate degree, I played volleyball at Providence. So I had my 5th year. So I had 1 year to decide what I wanted to do. So I could have done the MSBA in a year or the MBA in a year. For me, a lot of people can get an MBA. It's very generalized. Because of the computer science background, I had a passion for analytics and knew I wanted more experience in computer softwares and understanding how to use Tableau and a little bit just more of the strategy. I was not interested in the management portion of it. I'm not really interested in the marketing portion. I really wanted to get nitty gritty with numbers. And so for that, especially looking at just kind of the layout of classes, it made more sense for me. And I'm very happy I did because I'm working now with the Cleveland Browns and the Columbus Crew, and we're attached to the Milwaukee Bucks under the Haslam Sports Group. And just starting this job as a junior business analyst, I jumped in with all this knowledge of SQL, Tableau, and I was able to jump right in. Whereas I think if I would have had just a generalized MBA, I would have had to do a lot of learning straight from the jump. And I'm only 2 months in, so I obviously am still in learning, but I had a lot of specialized work. And a lot of the work in the MSBA was very specific to topics that you were interested. So choosing data sets on sports that you were interested in, and kind of making the project what you wanted it to be. So I made it a lot of sports focused and just kind of things that I could take with me. And it directly correlated to what I do now. I think probably if I told Dr. Jackson, it would be some of the same exercises I do on a daily basis of what we did in the MSBA program. So definitely prepared me perfectly. But I appreciated the specialized just for making sure that I was using all the things in it that are relevant to the analytical world today. A lot of it is very modern. It's exactly what is analytics, and it's not just a generalized MBA that's been kind of around for years. It's a newer program and very specialized to what's actually happening in the industry.
Thanks, Sammy. Excellent. Aileen?
Yeah, definitely. So I think for me, it was a little bit easier knowing what graduate program I wanted to do, just because I majored in sports management in undergrad, and I knew that I wanted to really hone in on that knowledge and build that even further than I already did in undergrad. And also, it just helps with my creative and storytelling skills. I do think that if you can learn a little bit more about the sports industry, it really does go well with social media. At least for me, in my case, I know the cases that we have worked with Nico in class have really helped a lot, really putting in that strategy with like social media.
Excellent. Aiden?
Yeah, so for me, my background was I did an undergrad in business analytics, but it was graduated in 2020, so it was a while ago. And first job was financial planning and analysis, and it was way more finance than I wanted to do. So, you know, that was kind of what my family always did was finance and accounting. So that's what I thought it would be the same and be good at. But I felt kind of pushed away from that and wanted to get into more on an analytics side. So I started with the MSBA program, which helped me learn a little bit more on some of the tools I had already been using in my first job, which was Python, SQL, Power BI. Um, but the great part of that program was that it was, a lot of the projects are all open-ended in the sense that you can pick your own data sources. So all of my sources were all about hockey and some baseball, some football thrown in there. And that kind of experience with that, and similar to Sammy, I was also in the ticket office for a little bit as well, kind of geared me into, okay, I think sports analytics is what I wanted to do, whether it be, player sided analytics or business side ticket ops. Um, and it pushed me then into the MS sports administration, because, I think right away I've realized that in the first month I've been at the Dallas Stars, I do know a lot of analytics, but I don't know what else goes on in sports. And I've started to learn a lot more. My first project is over partnerships and sponsors, which I would have never known about, but it's tied in exactly to these marketing class that we're taking with Professor Nico. Uh, and it's working perfectly that, I'm learning more about the business in sports and can still have that analytics degree before to support what I want to do technically in that job.
Excellent. Yeah, and you've all shared some pretty amazing experiences in terms of what you've been able to do. I would say, with that, we were going to ask, what was the most valuable experience within your programs or in your program currently, either academically, professionally, or personally. You've touched upon a lot of that. I think, one thing that could be helpful if you want to share that experience, but also what about each of these programs has helped you become a better professional or get into the different internships or industries that you're very interested in?
I can again start. I think for me, I also want to be clear is that I was not 100% sure I wanted to work in sports. I've been playing sports my whole life. I've been kind of surrounded by the politics of sports, and I wasn't 100% sure that's what my passion would be. So I think for the business analytics master's degree, it wasn't sports focused. Again, the other one was not available when I started, so I didn't have a choice. But I was happy that I did not specialize so early in that, just so that I would have kind of a well-rounded. I didn't know if I wanted to be at a huge company, one of the big four doing consulting, or if I wanted to strictly do business analytics. So it was good to just kind of give me the foundation that would work with either. And then I could kind of choose based on availability within the industry and kind of where I found my passion for. Um, but also just talking about the specific degree, it teaches you in the MSBA, there's a lot of teamwork. It is a lot more in person, which personally I appreciate. I think remote learning is also great, but I had experience in both, especially I was in college during COVID, so I definitely had both. But I appreciated the in-person teamwork because ultimately my job is in person every single day, 8:30 to 5:30. So just being able to work with other people at the Browns, the BA department is the foundation of pretty much everything that happens around here. We support the ticketing team, the marketing team, and the corporate partnerships team, along with digital and activation and kind of all the other small ones that are under those buckets. But you really have to learn how to work with other people and how to support them with what they need to do. It's different than school. You don't get an assignment that has clear instructions and there is a right or wrong answer. You kind of have to ask leading questions and really be able to work with others. So I think that was a big thing in the MSBA that worked well for me is like, yes, I can tell you the data, but there are so many different stories I can tell for this. What story do you want to tell? So learning that and understanding how you can work with a team and how some people can offer different specialties was very helpful.
Awesome. Terrific. Aileen?
Yeah, definitely. So I think for me, as of right now, from what I'm seeing for myself, is that I really have grown learning more about sports management and the event operations and the marketing strategy. Just right now in our class for strategic marketing, we wrapped up a P Bruins project that we just shared on Tuesday. So that really has helped me learn even more just about marketing and social media and has really helped with like the whole aspect. And I think it's just been great so far.
Awesome. Nice work, Aileen. That was a really fun project. I like doing that this week. So I'm kind of gonna piggyback a little bit off of what Sammy said because I think the overarching thing about my answer will be that the networking and what we've gotten out of it, for me personally, has been a lot. Was really cool was the networking on both sides. Professor Loiner's classes always having guest speakers come in and things like that, and the whole focus of our orientation was about networking for at the beginning, not like an orientation where you're sitting down and learning what everything is on campus and how to use a certain thing. It was, we want to get you in and meet people, which was great. And then, like Sammy said, her and I are have found ourselves in similar roles, different fields. I'm in hockey and she's with the Browns, but we worked in groups together all last year when I was in the MSBA program. And now that group, we always worked in the sports analytics class together and in our Tableau class together. Now I have all of them as contacts and they've gone off to work for teams. Even now in the MSSA program, all the our small cohort we have right now, we all do such unique different things, whether it be for on-campus sports or people already working in sports outside in the professional world. The connections we've made already, I was not expecting it. Coming from a giant school like Arizona State, I thought I was going to have less luck to meet people at Providence, and I've met more people and have a bigger network now at Providence than I did when I was at Arizona State, which is massive school.
Absolutely. That's quite a testament to the network too. Excellent. Well, thank you. I want to be mindful of our time. But any piece of advice that you would give to a student?
I can start again. I've thought a little bit about this. I was working all day, so I don't have time to prepare like a ton of answers. But I will say, Chat GPT is a huge thing right now in the country. And while AI is very helpful to like normal things that are allowed to ask, there are a lot of things that you need to be able to do not using AI. And yes, AI can put together a SQL code that's going to answer the question that you need to answer in class. But I think genuinely coming into either coursework that you can, and trying to be a sponge, especially for more of the computer programming things. It's a powerful tool, but it's also another thing to really understand it. And you're kind of, some industries I think are losing that a little bit. I feel good where I'm at with the Browns, and we don't use it a ton. So I know everybody knows what they're talking about without the use of AI, but I think just learning how to use it to your advantage, but not letting it overtake what you personally can do with your skills. And then really just take the time to understand which one you think would be good for you. Again, like I said, I took the business analytic route. The other one was not a thing when I was choosing, but I would choose the business analyst again, just because it gave me the flexibility. If I didn't want to be a part of sports, I still had a good foundation, and a versatile degree. But if you know 100% you're interested in sports, the MSSA might also be a great option. So definitely just understand kind of what you're interested in the long term.
Any other pieces of advice for students?
I can definitely go next. I would probably say, just learn as much as you can. Be a sponge, just like Sammy said. I think that especially in the sports industry, the more you know, the better you are set off. I can attest to this. I started in game day sales and I learned fast that I did not want to do sales. That was just not my thing. But again, learning, seeing is the best way to go in the sports industry, and as well, building the connections. I'm really grateful and I can test as well that the position that I have today has been through building those connections.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think for my advice, I personally liked the way that I treated the projects that we did for both the MSBA program and what I'm starting to do now for the sports administration side. That I treated every project like it was going to go on my portfolio. Like I wanted to show something that I made through through the classwork that I could turn over to a future employer and show what I can do. And I think that really helped me effectively, make good projects, but also set me up for right when my application process with the Dallas Stars was present to us a project that you've done in the past few years. And so I already had them all ready. I had some good projects that I had done with Providence and the Providence ticket office, and I was ready to go, which I think was a big help for me.
Excellent.
Diana, if you don't mind, I've got one question. It's going to be very targeted, so Sammy, I apologize. Aiden, I think your answer on projects was fantastic. I think that would be kind of one piece. And so, Sammy, my question to you is more on the consulting projects. You actually got to do two. And do you want to talk a little bit about how that might have helped with your experience in sort of getting that job with the Browns?
Yes. While Aiden was talking, I was like, oh, I should have said something about the consulting projects. They are very real world. So I think my experience in college was awesome. I wouldn't trade it for anything. And the MSBA, but there is a point to like having instructions of what you're supposed to do that when you're on your own and you feel like you're kind of just floating in the open ocean of you have all this data. We were mapped, there were 6 teams in the class, the first consulting class I had taken. It was in person, which I thought was great. It was heavy teamwork based. So Professor Jackson gave us some Tableau tips along the way. We were paired with some MBA kids, so they weren't as equipped with Tableau as we were. So we had a little bit of an advantage, but it's helpful. So we had a real life company come in and basically just say, like, we need help. We need revenue help. We need new innovation for projects and products that they were coming out with. And they just handed us all these data sets. There were like 8 data sets. There were multiple sheets per Excel file. And so just taking all of that and having an entire semester just to basically be like, figure it out. And we took that and put it into a, was it 10-minute presentation, I think, for the company. And there were multiple rounds of presentation, and it just really taught you teamwork. Of course, you were in a team of people, but how to take real life insights out of a massive data set. When you're in the real world, there's no instructions of what people are looking for. They don't tell you like, oh, we need to know this, this, and this, and this. They just say, can you please just tell me what's important? And that's up to you to figure out. So I think understanding how to do that, and then making those insights and translating them into a language that non-analytical people and people who aren't statistical in the real world can understand, and how to say, okay, other than just the numbers, now here is a business way to translate that. So creating new products, prioritizing this product over this, like it's just kind of unlocking those keys. And going through the multiple rounds of presentation, we learned how to be professional, how to present what was meaningful, keep within a time frame, and then also how to take feedback. We did the presentation once just for Dr. Jackson, and then got a bunch of feedback, and we're able to take that and not only make our slides, we had to put together slides and put together graphs and really kind of bring it all together. So it was a very big project. And in the beginning, it seemed like it was going to be this big mountain to climb, and it was very overwhelming, but just learning to kind of tackle things one at a time was awesome. The one over the summer was remote, so it was a little bit different, but it kind of still had the same effect. We took a bunch of data that had no real storyline to come out of it. We were able to meet directly with the clients for both projects to kind of ask questions along the way that would help us. But just pulling that all into a presentation at the end is a lot more real world. And so, like Aiden had said, I used those 2 as big examples of how I played a role on my team for those consulting projects. And it was very impressive to my hiring people, and not even just for the Browns. I mean, obviously you go through multiple interviews with different companies, and a lot of people I talked to were very impressed just with the way that we were able to do that project. And like I said, I was looking at consulting jobs. So I loved the class. It made me realize that I do have a passion for this, because I didn't want to take the MSBA and come out of it and be like, oh my gosh, I did not want to do anything that I'm doing. So it was great. But those 2 real life experiences were very helpful.
That's excellent. And thank you, Sammy, for sharing that anecdote as well. That's awesome. We did have 2 questions that came up in the chat. John and Nico, these are more for you. There's a question for MSSA foundational courses. Could I potentially receive credit for one or both of the classes that I took in my undergrad? And with those foundational MSSA courses, there are just some components to that 502 that are paired with the orientation, the in-person orientation, and then the 503 foundational course that is only required for students who do not have a business background. So if they don't have a business undergraduate major, they are required to take that 503 class. Did I capture all of that, Nico, or is there anything else to add to that?
No, you got it all. You're a pro. You do it with me all the time. Just for 502, the one thing that I would say that, so excuse me, for 503 is that we are really, if you took 1 or 2 courses at the undergraduate level, that's just not enough. We are talking about people who have a diploma from a business school, which is accredited. So we know that they had accounting, they had finance, they had marketing, they had management. And so you need the full experience in order to be able to waive that 503 course. Okay. So you're more prepared in all of those aspects.
Excellent. Yeah. And there was also a question, would it be possible to take the MSSA and MSBA in the same year? That is not possible. These are both full-time programs that students would do in a one-year time frame. So it would not be possible to do two programs in that one-year time frame, and that would also be a lot of work.
Yeah, I think one of our students should answer that question because, hey guys, do you think you could spare some time for a second diploma at the same time? No, no taker, huh?
I don't think at the same time.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
Yeah, I don't know if I could do them both. I'm okay doing them sequentially. At the same time, that'd be a lot. And I did the MSBA as a part-time student as well, so that was before when it was offered as a part-time 2-year program.
And again, that goes with that rigor that we expect from AACSB accredited program.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I just want to make sure we have a little bit of time just for folks so they are aware of the admission requirements for the two programs. You'll see it posted here. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on these. They are very similar in terms of the different items that you need to submit: online application, resume, letters of recommendation. And with those recommendations, those are you'll fill that information out within the application contacts. There will be 2 recommender contacts. With that, those for anybody who is an undergraduate student, really important to see business faculty or faculty that you have taken classes with who are writing those recommendations. There is a form that those recommenders will fill out. So when you're filling out the application, you add their contact information, an email goes out to those recommenders, and they fill out that recommendation form. Then official transcripts from all your institutions, and then with that too, there are no test scores that are required with either of these 2 programs. Just to keep in mind too, we do have upcoming deadlines. So December 15th and February 15th are important priority deadlines. And with that, for any students who are again, considering a graduate assistantship. If they are a full-time student, they've been admitted and enrolled, then they will be able to apply for a graduate assistantship in either of these 2 programs. One of the things that you do need to keep in mind, we do strongly recommend students apply and submit a completed application by February 15th, just to ensure that there are graduate assistantship opportunities available. So just to be aware of that, that February 15th priority deadline, that's a pretty big one to keep in mind if you're really considering, again, the full-time program and also a graduate assistantship opportunity. Beyond that too, just things that folks can pay attention to, think about doing. I mentioned, gathering information. You're gathering information about the 2 programs here, and then ask questions if there are some follow-ups, either to our program directors or to our grad admission office. By all means, feel free to reach out to us. And then transcripts. Begin to request those different transcripts. So if you have attended a couple of different colleges or universities, maybe you have another graduate degree elsewhere, we'll need official transcripts from all of those institutions. So just to keep that in mind, and you'll want to order those and have them sent to gradschool@providence.edu. If you've already taken classes at PC, you can give us access to your transcript within the application. So within that as well, just again, I mentioned when choosing professional recommendations and faculty recommendations, you want to make sure these individuals know you well and in different capacities, and they can also speak to that. So in the recommender form that people fill out, that those recommenders fill out, there are some general questions, and then they are some open-ended questions. They're also able to attach a letter as well, but that is an optional component. So just to keep in mind when you are filling out their contact information in the application, you'll want to also contact them and make sure they know to expect that request for the recommendation form to be completed. And then also to take time with that statement of purpose. So you heard some great experiences, learned a lot about each of our 2 specialized degree programs, and then also really understanding both your interest, your hopes, your goals for the program that you're applying for. That's a really important piece when we are reviewing that application, understanding what you're going to be bringing and adding to these different degree programs. So keep that in mind when you're preparing that application. And of course, too, I mentioned follow-up questions, things that you're wondering about, either with the curriculum, the student experiences, or just the general admission process. By all means, reach out to us with anything that comes up. But thank you all so much for joining. We'll stay on for just a little bit. I know we're right about at that 6:30 time mark, but if there are any questions that folks have last minute, feel free to just add those to the Q&A. Okay.
As people are typing, if they're typing, I do want to give special thanks to our 3 students/alumni. Your perspectives are very valuable. Professor Lonier and I can talk all night, but we can't give the insights and the value that you guys add. So I really appreciate you taking the time.
Yes, big thank you to the 3 of you, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And for everyone attending, you got an insider's view, true insider's view to the 2 different programs. And thanks, Aiden, for sharing again the experiences in both. I think that was very helpful to compare since we often get questions about the differences between the 2. Great. Awesome.
Diana, do you see the question that came in about the 3rd day?
Yeah, so there's a question about, is there a 30-day response? Is the 30-day response acceptance form time flexible? We'll handle those on an individual basis. Sometimes students do request an extension. What I do ask is that if a student is looking for an extension, they will need to email gradschool@providence.edu, and we can work out a timeline that's appropriate. Awesome. Terrific. Well, thanks, everybody. And again, feel free to reach out, and we do hope you all have a wonderful evening. So. We got 3 folks. I'm not sure if there were any follow-up questions.
You called them out and they left.
I know. All right. Well, it doesn't look like any more, so I will end this. And again, we appreciate all 3 of you. Thanks for really giving again that insider scoop.
Yeah, no, thank you guys for having me. It was I was sitting on the other side 3 years ago. So it feels cool to be, helping people out, make a good decision. Thank you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I love telling people about my experience. Especially because I came back to Cleveland, everyone's like, Providence College, why? And I'm like, oh, let me tell you. So whenever you need someone, I will always ask for my alma mater. So I love it there and everything you guys have done for us along the way. So thank you.
That's awesome, Sammy. Well, terrific. All right. Well, let me stop this share and end the session. It's all right. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Take care.